The unbelievable luxury you didn't know existed. Welcome to my channel. When you think of an SUV, the first images that come to mind are usually rugged trails, gravel roads, maybe a family on the weekend. But what if I told you there's an SUV that doesn't just carry you? It astonishes you with luxury and then launches you forward like a rocket. That's the enigma of the 2026 Mercedes-Maybach GLS 900. At first glance, it looks like a statement of opulence, a rolling palace with acres of leather and handcrafted trim. But beneath its serene surface lies something most people never expect. Brutal performance that threatens supercars in a straight line. And the story of how this seemingly quiet giant became one of the most talked about SUVs in the world is far wilder than you might think. Most videos you'll find online either treat the GLS 900 like it's just another luxury SUV, or they exaggerate it into something it isn't. Today, we're going to navigate the truth, the real engineering, the jaw-dropping performance numbers, and the reason this machine is rewriting what we thought an SUV could be. 2. The Maybach myth before we dive into what makes the GLS 900 so extraordinary. It's important to understand the reputation it started with. The Maybach name isn't just a trim level or a luxury badge. It's a symbol. For decades, Maybach has stood for the pinnacle of automotive refinement. Think silk soft leather, whisper quiet cabins, handcrafted details, and technology that anticipates your every need. When you step inside a Maybach, you aren't just entering a vehicle, you're entering a sanctuary on wheels. The base model for what would become the GLS 900 is the Mercedes-Maybach GLS 600, already one of the most opulent SUVs on the planet in its stock form. People buying a Maybach GLS aren't thinking about drag strips or race cars. They're thinking about first-class rear seats, privacy curtains, massaging seats with multiple settings, and ambient lighting that makes the cabin feel like a luxury hotel suite. In SEO terms, if luxury SUVs were a search query, the GLS would sit at the top of the results. And that's what makes what happened next so unexpected. 3. The GLS 900 and twist. So what exactly is the GLS 900? Is Mercedes-Benz suddenly selling a 900 horsepower SUV straight from the factory? The answer might surprise you. The GLS 900 isn't an official model produced by Mercedes-Benz. Instead, it's a high-end, handcrafted transformation by an elite tuning house called Brabus. Imagine handing over a bespoke luxury SUV that already costs a fortune and then turning it into something with power you'd expect from a supercar, all without losing the cocoon like comfort that defines Maybach. Most people hear a GLS 900 and assume it's another factory designation, a high-end trim level with extra badges and leather choices. But calling it just that would miss the point entirely. This is a vehicle that blurs lines. Luxury and performance, elegance and aggression, daily comfort and adrenaline-fueled power all rolled into one. 4. Inside the ultra-luxurious base, let's pause for a moment and talk about the base vehicle. Because if you've never experienced a Maybach SUV, you might not appreciate just how lavish it already was before Brabus breathed fire into it. Step inside a standard GLS 600, and the first thing you notice isn't horsepower. It's the silence. Heat insulating glass keeps the outside world at bay. Seats are upholstered in buttery soft leather that seems to mold around you. Rear occupants enjoy reclining seats with massage functions, footrests that rise electronically, and ambient lighting that feels like it was designed by an interior decorator, not an automaker. Every surface is touched with materials that cost more than some people's monthly rent. Open, pour woods, polished metals, and meticulous stitch patterns that aren't just aesthetic. They're statements. Controls are executed with precision, screens are crisp, and the entire cabin feels like your personal escape pod from reality. It's the kind of vehicle that makes you forget you're in traffic, even when you're crawling down the highway. But here's the thing. Underneath all that calm is a machine screaming to break free. 5. Brabus transforms the game. This is where the story gets interesting. Brabus has a reputation in tuning circles that borders on legendary. They don't just boost horsepower, they reinvent vehicles. And when they got hold of the GLS 600, They didn't just tweak it, they unleashed it. Starting with the engine, Brabus enlarges the displacement and fits larger turbochargers to transform the mild-mannered V8 into a 900 horsepower explosion of power. Torque swells to a staggering 1250 Nm, a figure that would overwhelm most sports cars, let alone a bulky SUV. But the upgrades don't stop with the engine. Brabus adds a suite of performance refinements. A custom exhaust system that not only improves airflow, but gives the GLS 900 a growl that contradicts its otherwise composed demeanor. Carbon fiber, aerodynamic pieces that improve stability at speed, and massive 24-inch forged wheels wrapped in performance rubber to hook all that power to the pavement. Inside, Brabus doesn't just leave the luxury untouched. They elevate it. You get bespoke leather trims, personalized embroidery, contrast stitching that tells you this is something beyond ordinary, and custom carbon or piano black details that signal performance without saying a word. The result? An SUV that feels like a luxury limousine on the outside and an unleashed performance machine on the inside. 6. Supercar performance in an SUV. This is where most people lose their minds. Stop for a second and consider the image of an SUV. Tall, heavy, elevated ride height, comfy seats. The opposite of a track toy. Now throw 900 HP at it. Brabus claims the GLS 900 runs from 0-100 km/h, 0-62 mph, in about 4.2 seconds. Think about that for a moment. Many legendary sports cars struggle to hit those numbers. All while you're sitting in a cabin so quiet you can barely hear the road. Torque is instantaneous and massive, meaning this SUV doesn't just accelerate, it launches. Top speed creeps toward 320 km/h around 199 mph, which is almost unheard of in something this tall and heavy. It's the kind of performance statistic that would lead a showroom full of engineers to say, "Oh no, we can't do that." And yet, here it is. The chassis has been tuned to handle this power, the suspension recalibrated to cope with both comfort and aggression, and the brakes beefed up to safely manage the transition from insane speeds to calm, cruising without drama. This isn't performance for performance's sake. It's performance that works. 7. Interior upgrades that shock the senses. Usually when vehicles get performance upgrades, interiors take a back seat, not here. Brabus understands that someone buying a Maybach, even a tuned one, expects luxury first, performance second, and then performance that doesn't compromise the luxury. That's why the cabin doesn't feel like a race car interior. It feels like a refined performance lounge. Plush leather wraps the seats, but now with bespoke patterns and contrast stitching that hint at the power under the hood. You'll find carbon fiber trim pieces that add a sporty edge without being gaudy. Even the sound system, already world-class in the base GLS, feels more alive, delivering rich tones that suit both calm cruising and thrilling launches. Rear passengers are treated like royalty, with recliner seating that might make you forget this is an SUV capable of nearly 320 km/h. Cup holders, climate controls, footrests, all just as indulgent as in the stock Maybach, but framed by an atmosphere that whispers performance. What's fascinating is how the GLS 900 manages to preserve the original Maybach serenity while layering in performance cues that invite curiosity and excitement. 8. Why the GLS 900 changes everything? Here's the part most people miss. This vehicle doesn't just blur categories, it smashes them. Before the GLS 900, luxury SUVs were still understood in separate compartments. Comfort SUVs, sporty SUVs, performance SUVs. You could have 2 out of 3, but seldom all 3 at once. Imagine this. You're cruising in serene silence, leather so soft it feels engineered for dreams, with trims that radiate warmth, and technology that feels almost psychic. Then with a gentle press, you're lunging forward, torque building, horizons rushing past, and you're still in that quiet sanctuary. Most vehicles make you choose. 900 refuses that choice, and that's why it's more than just an expensive SUV. It's a statement, a challenge to manufacturers and tuners alike. It asks, why can't luxury and performance be inseparable? And more importantly, why can't they feel effortless? 9. The final thought at the end of the day, the 2026 Mercedes-Maybach GLS 900 isn't just a machine, it's a narrative. It's the story of how far engineering can push what we think is possible in a segment that was once dismissed as purely comfort-centric. It's a reminder that innovation doesn't always come from the factory. Sometimes it emerges when someone dares to take something perfect and make it extraordinary. So as you think about the future of SUVs, ask yourself this: if a vehicle can be this luxurious and this fast, what's stopping the next evolution? What other boundaries are waiting to be shattered? The GLS 900 didn't just rewrite expectations, it tore out the page.